Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with Matt, the mortgage guy, in his new office space. How you
In
doing,
my
buddy?
new office space. Yeah, so we'll have a painted wall. We'll have the big fancy sign up soon enough. Today you just get me in a blank wall. Um,
That's okay.
along those lines, Mike, I thought it would be really funny, and I'm probably going to do it. All the YouTube haters that are like, the real estate market is crashing, go find a new job. I've got some funny empty pictures of my old office with just the sign and like bare floors. And I'm going to say, I guess
Shut
the
it
trolls,
down. I
I
had to
guess,
give it up.
I guess the trolls were right.
I'm gonna be a barista.
Come visit me for your latte.
Double cap, latte, mocha, whatever. That's funny. Anyways, I jest. What I want to talk about here is a very important topic uh, that I know it's of interest, but I don't think people really understand, and that is, should I go in and try to get the lowest price from the seller, or should I give them a little bit on price and get seller credits, right? The net of this question is the bottom line number is the same, but what should I do? Should I get the lowest price? Should I get seller credits? Matt, you probably get this every day. So
Yeah,
what are
we
people thinking?
we get it so much, and I'm glad me and you are talking about it, because this is the question you should ask yourself and your loan officer and your real estate agent. And collectively, you have this discussion, you figure out what works best for you, and go from there, because I think a lot of folks, they just don't know. And when somebody doesn't know something, knowing what I know about mortgage, I say, well, it depends. And everybody's scenario is different, depending on what is important to you, how long you're going to stay in the home, your monthly budget, all these things. And so the best way to figure out your personal answer is to run the numbers, in ORAT terms, do the work. And if you're lucky enough to be working with a great team like my team, go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out the form if you want to do that. We're going to provide you the information and talk you through it and let you tell us how you want to do it. The good news is, Mike, is that when people are like, hey, if it's listed at 400 and I think that the seller's motivated because they've been on the market for 67 days, should I get a lower price or some seller credit? I think you do both, right?
Of course.
And,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
but then it becomes a conversation, and I've got a YouTube video on this, and happy to share the Excel spreadsheet that we have so people can plug in their own numbers. Do I want 395 with 10K in credit? Do I want 385 with 0 in credit? Do I want 390 with 5K in credit? There can be multiple numbers where the seller nets the same.
Yeah.
And if you have a good enough agent to explain that to the list side, when they net 385 or whatever the number is, it shouldn't really matter to the seller. There's small implications on, capital gains and other things with the sales price.
Sure.
Also on the buy side, there's, taxes,
Yeah.
and you'll pay slightly different, which is a good question. I actually addressed that with somebody where I said, yeah, you're gonna pay 12 to 15 more per month in property taxes by paying a higher price and getting credit. But the question you have to ask is, what's important to me? And I've done so many of these scenarios, and I can do it because I have the spreadsheet up with me right now, where if you're going to get, for a hypothetical scenario, 15,000 in seller credit on a $500,000 purchase,
That's 3%.
yeah, you can take that 15 grand, buy down the rate a little bit, and do a 2-1 buy down, which gives you 2% lower in year 1, 1% lower in year 2, and then years 3 through 30 are whatever that rate is. And so, literally yesterday, and it wasn't at this purchase price, but it was this type of scenario where we bought down the rate to 6% and then did a 2-1 buy down, and then had some credit left over.
Yeah.
So, on the 500K example, taxes, insurance, everything, 2,800 in year 1, 3,072 in year 2, 3,350 in year 3. If you told yourself, well, price is most important, I'm just concerned with price, I want 485 with none of the credit. Keep in mind, that 485 with none of the credit, if you don't buy the rate down, you're just in that 3250, 3350 payment, depending on tax and insurance and some other factors. And
when I look at investors with this question, and maybe it's a little easier with investors, I think too many people focus on price, like the 500 versus 485, and this is why, right? First and foremost, let's just pretend for a minute it's 20 grand either way, because I want to do easier math for people to follow along. Let's assume it's 20 grand, so 500 or 480, and you're putting 20% down. What I worry about is how much cash is coming out of my pocket. 20% of 500 is 100 grand. 20% of 480 is 96 grand. So while you may have gotten a $20,000 price difference, you get 4 grand of that goodness. The other comes from the bank, right? The bank has to lend you less. Second, closing costs. I've done many, many spreadsheets showing just how you can get, if you could take your 8 grand in closing costs and make that 0, that 8 grand is 100% cash coming out of your account. If you can make that 0 because it comes out of the seller's account, your yield goes up. It just does. It's mathematically goes up. And then the other thing, you said this earlier, and I think it's dead on. How long do you plan to be in the property or maybe in the loan? I buy properties intending to hold them forever. I don't gamble on, buy the building, date the rate nonsense, because I've studied the 70s and rates could be high for a lot longer than I think. So if I get the seller to pay a couple of points or a point or half a point and get me at 599 or whatever the next floor is, that's real money because that takes it off. So again, I think when you ask people, should I get a lower price or seller credits? I think most people naturally lean to the lowest price possible.
Yeah. And then I didn't mean to interrupt you, but then I show them the numbers.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they lean towards the credit.
Of course. It's mathematically right. From the only person that I could think of that it makes sense to get the lowest price is if you're writing a check. If you're paying cash, you have no loan cost, you have no mortgage. Okay, great. Well, then.
Yeah. And to your point too about holding it, if you plan on selling this thing in 18 months, you care what you owe. But for you and me, and for somebody who's holding it for the long term, what I also show people is if you use this money to buy down the rate, and people get caught up in, well, if I buy it for 485 and I put 10% down, I only owe 436. Pay 510% down, I owe 450. So they're 13.5 behind in their eyes.
Yeah.
If you get a much lower rate, you're going to
pay more. Yeah, your payment could be lower.
It's going to catch that. Yes. And more importantly for most people, $100, $150, $200 less in payment, more cash flow, more room for error. And really, I know myself personally, and so this is how the conversation goes with some people. Whether I owe 417, 522 or 422, 836 5 years from now means very little to me. Means very little.
Nothing. Yeah. Again, I think too many people lean towards lowest price, where I think the other, certainly for investors, it's the seller credits. And the other thing, I like how you opened it in the beginning. Like you find a property that's on the market 67 days, I think was your example. Go ask for both, right? So again, it's listed for 567 days. I'm just going to make this up. So you do your own work. Write it at 440 and ask for 3% credit. So, net it's, I don't know, 428 or whatever it is. Ask for the world. And then as negotiations, you have to figure out what is better, lower price or credits. I suggest working with a great mortgage professional such as Matt and his team. How would they go there to reach out and say, hey, help me do the math?
No matter where you're at in the country, just go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out the form, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.